Maurice Washington has been busy since the 2015 Charleston mayoral election. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with him one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Well, Maurice.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Good to see you again.
Well, likewise. I guess the last time I saw you was 2015.
I think you're right. It seems like just yesterday, however. Long time, but short time when you think about it.
Yeah.
You doing good?
Oh, I'm doing great. Busy as always.
Good. Likewise.
Yes, and speaking of busy, I got to take you back to Thursday, April 20th. Obviously, Larry Grabowski was unanimously re-elected as Charleston County Republican Party chairman.
Rightfully so.
And you became the first vice chairman for Charleston County Republican Party.
Yeah.
Where were you, or where was your heart at that moment?
Well, it wasn't something that going into the week that I anticipated happening. Some folks who were near and dear to me, people that I trust, called me the week of the convention and asked if I would consider doing it. And prayed about it for a little bit and basically said, hey, look, if I'm nominated, I'll serve.
Okay.
And the night of the convention, John Steinberger put the nomination on the floor, and some good folks seconded, and vote was held, and I was blessed with the election results. So that was kind of good.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah.
And now that you
but I didn't say a thing to my wife.
Oh, really?
She found out about it through Facebook posting and told me, you're busted.
Oh.
So I just kept it to myself. Right. Didn't know what the results was going to be.
Yes.
And I didn't share the results or the pending election with her. So she found out through social media.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the difference what social media can do.
Absolutely. Keeps you honest, you know?
Exactly. And I know there's a lot of honesty these days on social media about really politics. People get tired of hearing it, and some people are engaging in it. What is the state of politics in your mind right now?
Well, it's an ugly mess, partly driven by the mainstream media's obsessed with the president, President Trump, and the so-called Russia interference with the U.S. elections, and it's just an ugly time for politics. It's hard to get the business of the people done, and hopefully, partisan politics eventually will be set aside, and folks would focus on their real reason for being, not just in Washington, but the state capitals, city councils, and county councils alike, and just get the work of the people done.
You touched on a lot of things that I really need to get your take on.
Yeah.
You talk about the State House. Obviously, there was a very interesting legislative session from January up until May.
Okay.
When you look back at the State House and its legislative session, what still plays in your mind about all of these issues? Charleston loophole, medical marijuana, the gas tax.
Well, we have crumbling roads and infrastructure, and normally I'm against tax increases of most types, most kind. But we have to find a way to improve our infrastructure. Improve infrastructure represent potential improve economies and jobs for the citizens of our state. So a lot of people oppose the gas tax. I'm not one of those. I think it's going to be a tremendous boost for the economy of our state. So that one particular issue was, I would think, the hot button issue of the last session, and folks are still trying to wrap their perspective argument around that.
You read about that, and you learned about that on social media.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to take you to City Council. Obviously, there's been a rift between them, most of the members of Charleston City Council and the Charleston Area Justice Ministry.
Yeah.
As they, the ministry itself wants an outside audit for the police department. Charleston City Mayor Tecklenburg basically said, hey, we have the Novak consulting firm, and we're going to stick with that, and they'll actually do an audit for the police department. What is your letter grade right now when it comes to the Charleston City Council?
My council member and also a dear friend, Councilmember James Lewis.
Right.
We both grew up Gadsden Green
Right.
Public Housing.
Yes.
So I go way back with him. One of the hardest working, most loyal, dedicated council member in all of South Carolina, Councilmember James Lewis. He proposed a resolution that you just referenced.
Right.
And honestly, I think it's a very sensitive issue. It's a hot button issue.
Sure.
And transparency is, I think, is the key there. If the Justice Ministry's request was, hey, look, we need someone with experience to come in and conduct this audit, something that would bring about more transparency in the process and the performance of local law enforcement officers. I think it's worth a look. And the resolution basically said, hey, we want a firm with the right credentials to come in that has a track record
Right.
of doing these kinds of audit to show that we run a top-notch, non-biased, racially clean police department. And I'm sure Councilmember Lewis put forth that resolution based on an honest and gut purpose, and not for political purposes. So, I supported his desire to do so. His putting it forward for a vote.
And I gotta take you to West Ashley. Obviously, another hot button debate is the Maryville-Ashleyville development.
Yes. Yeah.
You have a lot of former state leaders as well as current state leaders, as you know, most of them are getting into the fray.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this, what goes to your mind when you think of the future of Maryville-Ashleyville?
Well, number one, Maryville-Ashleyville has a uniqueness about itself. I forget the African American women who saved money to purchase what was then became known as Maryville. And then back in the 50s when Highway 61 legislators
Right.
support the funding of this Highway 61
Right.
development, it actually divided Maryville into Maryville-Ashleyville. Before then, Maryville had its own mayor, black mayor, one of the first in the state. So there's a rich history there. And I think you can improve quality of life in Maryville-Ashleyville without necessarily displacement or gentrification. So whatever plan City Council, the mayor put forward should include, right now, the basic stuff, the infrastructure, streets and sidewalks and drainage, and safe playgrounds and parks and this beautiful view as a result of the construction of the pier out there that now exists.
Yes.
So community development block grant funds are available for that. Affordable housing opportunities exist via that particular vehicle. So I just think both Representative Wendell Gilliard, former Senator Robert Ford, Keith Waring, Lewis Waring, who is the council representative, if they continue to work together, I think Maryville-Ashleyville is going to be okay.
Wow. Well, we talked, I guess, twice, for my acquaintance close-ups about this particular issue.
Yeah.
And as you know, 2 weeks ago, we unfortunately had to commemorate their passing, and that's the Mother Emanuel tragedy.
Yes.
When you look back, let me ask you this. Where is your heart 2 years later?
Well, it's a proud heart. Proud of the way the city, our citizens, responded to that unforgettable tragedy. No rioting, no looting, no racial fights of notoriety, that is. The best of Charleston, the best of South Carolina, the best of America came together. Right. And it warms your heart when you reflect back to that moment in time, but it also saddens your heart based on the tragedy itself. So it's a mixed bag for me, but I'm just so proud of the way our leadership kind of just carried us through the process, and the job that former Mayor Rowley
right.
did was just absolutely remarkable, and that was the one time where political partisanship was set aside, race divide set aside. South Carolina became one South Carolina. And boy, if we could just kind of recapture that spirit with our work in the General Assembly, with our work in city halls and county government, and even in Washington, D.C., citizens of our good country, great country, and city will be the beneficiaries of that.
You know, I was just thinking about this as I was on my way over here. But South Carolina State University has been relatively quiet there.
Yeah.
And as you know, there's a new president.
You're trying to take me there?
Well, that's your beloved college.
Yeah.
University, I should say. How strong is South Carolina State now with a new president, new leadership, in your mind?
Well, you know, it's still, there's still a lot of challenges, but hard work, you know, continues to be done. The alumni continue to be supportive, right. And we continue to keep the president and the current board of trustees right. in our thoughts and prayers, and we're rooting for them because their success represent the success of each of those students who have entrusted South Carolina State or to their future education and citizenship status, economic status going forward.
Mm-hmm. I gotta go back up to Columbia again. Obviously 2018 will be here next year, and it's already the battle for the next governor of South Carolina.
Yeah.
Who in your mind says that they should be the next governor of South Carolina?
You know, given that I am the first vice chair of the Charleston County Republican Party, it's I have to be neutral through the primary process.
Sure.
But I'm sure we are going to elect someone that nominates someone that is electable to serve for another 8 years or 2-year term or 2-term
right.
As governor. So we have some good candidates. We have a remarkable slate of folks who have expressed an interest.
Right.
But it's too early to talk about it
yes.
in a specific way.
Right.
But it should be a lot of fun, and I'm sure you're going to be right there interviewing every single one of them.
That's what I'm believing God for. And hopefully I can host a debate for once.
But now that is something we need to work on.
Sure.
Are you serious about it?
I would love to do it.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to get behind that effort and see what I can do to help make it happen. How's that?
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
I'll have my questions ready.
I bet you will.
And you talk about it's too early to talk about the governor's race.
Yeah.
It's never too early to talk about your future.
Right.
Write the headline for me. Maurice Washington will do what next?
Well, I have been very active with my church activities. I'm chair of the insurance committee,
sure.
and a member of the property committee
right.
and a building committee, and we just started leasing parking spaces about a year ago. So we have another enterprise area that's bringing in new revenues. I told my wife and friends who would listen to me, had I known that church work could be so much fun and that I would be this involved,
Right.
I probably wouldn't have believed them. But I am truly enjoying my wife. The kids are all out of the house, and I love her dearly,
Right.
and it's good time spent together, and along with the church work. So that's what I want to focus on right now. I was up on a roof at the church earlier.
Wow.
With a roofer looking at roof replacement. We just bought another piece
Right.
of property on the east side,
Right.
right next to the church.
Right.
So we're doing a lot of fun things, and so that's where my mindset is right now.
Wow. Wow. I failed to mention this. Obviously, you ran for mayor back in 2015,
I did.
and currently you have
And
John.
got whipped.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know currently John Tecklenburg is the mayor.
Yeah.
If you were sitting in that chair right now, what would you be doing differently on other issues in the city?
I would probably be focused on bringing a whole lot of different people together around the area of education, because I think that's so important to the future of our city, of our county, and our state, quite frankly, our nation. So a lot of emphasis. Although there's a school board, there's a superintendent of education, all that, there is a role for City Hall, because after all, these are our young citizens.
Sure.
So that would be a primary and principal focus of mine, number one. Number two, spending an awful lot of time in Columbia, in Washington, before county council, council of government, state infrastructure, bank board, trying to bring in revenues to, quite frankly, complete I-526, get this economy rolling, ease traffic and congestions and all those kinds of things. So those would be two things immediately that I would focus on. And I think the third thing would be, we have to have a quality of life that that manages, that demands, I should say, real growth management. And so those three things probably would be top priorities on my agenda had I been elected.
Who should move the ball next when it comes to 526?
Well, that ball has to move with the support of everyone moving as one. It's not a project that can be done by one particular entity or one particular person.
Right.
That's a partnership, inclusive undertaking. And everyone must come to the table, even those folks who oppose the completion of I-526. Everyone has to be brought to the table in order to get this thing done and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, Maurice Washington, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
My real pleasure. Don't forget, now we got to work on this
Oh, the
debate.
debates. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate this.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
You bet.